I am Fletcher, a 35-year-old small business owner who built my landscaping company from the ground up. For the last 5 years, I have been financially supporting my parents through their retirement struggles, covering everything from mortgage payments to medical bills. We have always been close, or so I thought. Last month, while helping organize their home office, I accidentally discovered their will. The shock of seeing they had left everything to my younger brother Derek, with nothing for me, hit like a physical blow. Before I tell you how I responded to this betrayal, drop a comment, letting me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you have ever felt taken advantage of by the people who should love you most. I grew up in a comfortable middle-class neighborhood in suburban Pennsylvania. Our family of 4 lived in a modest 2-story home with a backyard where my father William taught my brother Derek and me to play catch. From early on, there were subtle signs that Derek was the favorite child, though my parents would vehemently deny it if confronted. When Derek brought home average grades, he was praised for his effort. When I brought home straight, as it was simply expected. When Derek scored the winning goal in a soccer game, my parents took the whole team for ice cream. When I won the state science competition, they forgot to attend the ceremony. I accepted this dynamic early on and channeled my energy into building my own path. Throughout high school, I maintained perfect grades while working 20 hours a week at the local garden center. I learned everything I could about plants, landscaping, and business operations. By graduation, I had saved enough to cover my first semester of college and earned a partial scholarship that, combined with student loans and continuing to work, allowed me to put myself through Penn State. Derek took a different approach to life. 2 years younger than me, he drifted through high school with C's and D's, relying on his charm and athletic ability to stay afloat. Our parents hired tutors, gave him multiple allowances, and made excuses for his behavior. When he got accepted to a state college with mediocre grades, they threw a massive celebration and paid his full tuition room and board up front. He dropped out after 3 semesters, having spent more time at parties than in classrooms. While I was finishing my business degree and working 2 jobs, Derek cycled through various careers: barista, sales associate, personal trainer, bartender. None lasted more than 6 months. Each time he quit or was fired, our parents would console him, assure him he would find his passion, and inevitably provide financial support during his periods of unemployment. Despite the unequal treatment, I maintained a dutiful relationship with my parents: weekly phone calls, monthly visits, and sincere interest in their lives. I believed family was family regardless of frustrations or disappointments. After college, I took my garden center experience and business education and launched Fletcher Landscaping Services. The first 3 years were brutally difficult, working 16-hour days, reinvesting every penny of profit, and living in a tiny apartment with secondhand furniture. By year 4, I had 3 crews working for me. By year 6, we were the premier landscaping company in our region, with contracts for commercial properties and high-end residential developments. It was around this time that my father William was laid off from his management position at 59, just 6 years short of his planned retirement. The company provided a modest severance package, but their mortgage was still substantial, and they had limited savings. Without hesitation, I stepped in to help, covering 3 months of mortgage payments while my father searched for new employment. He eventually found a position with significantly lower pay, and their financial struggles continued. My mother Eileen needed knee replacement surgery that same year, and their insurance left them with $8,000 in out-of-pocket expenses. Again, I wrote the check without complaint. When their 15-year-old car finally died, I helped them secure and partially paid for a reliable replacement. As their financial needs increased, I established a monthly transfer of $2,000 to supplement their income. I covered property taxes when they fell behind, paid for a new roof when theirs began leaking, and handled countless other unexpected expenses, all while continuing to grow my business, which now required 60-hour work weeks and constant attention. Throughout these years of financial support, my parents expressed gratitude, but their emotional investment remained firmly with Derek. Family gatherings inevitably centered around his latest ventures and minor achievements. When he managed to keep a retail job for a full year, My parents spoke about it as if he had won a Nobel Prize. My business expansion into neighboring counties warranted barely a passing mention at the same dinner. My own personal life took a backseat to work and family obligations. My marriage to Sophia ended after 3 years, partly due to my constant focus on supporting both my business and my parents. She wanted to start our own family, but I could never seem to find the right time or resources, always stretched thin between multiple responsibilities. Last Thanksgiving exemplified the dynamic perfectly. As we sat around the table, my mother proudly announced that Derek had secured a part-time position at a sporting goods store. Everyone raised their glasses in celebration. Minutes later, when I mentioned signing a contract with the largest commercial development in our area, my father simply asked if that meant I would be too busy to help them replace their fence in the spring. I swallowed my disappointment, as I had done countless times before. Family was family, and I was determined to be the good son regardless of the imbalance. Little did I know that my parents had already made their decision about how they valued my contribution to the family. The discovery happened on an ordinary Sunday in April. I had driven to my parents' house to help them organize their home office, a task my father had been postponing for months. My mother made my favorite sandwich for lunch, patting my shoulder affectionately as I sorted through years of accumulated paperwork. "We do not know what we would do without you, Fletcher," she said, leaving me to the monotonous task of filing their documents. The afternoon progressed uneventfully as I created orderly stacks, tax returns, insurance policies, medical records, and household warranties. My father had stepped out to meet his friend for their weekly coffee, giving me free rein to organize as I saw fit. It was while searching for a missing property tax statement that I opened the bottom drawer of my father's desk. Beneath a stack of old calendars lay a manila envelope labeled Final Will and Testament in my father's precise handwriting. I had no intention of snooping, but the file was unsealed, and as I moved to place it with the other important documents, a single page slipped out. My eyes automatically scanned the text, and one paragraph immediately seized my attention. "We, William, and Eileen Marshall, being of sound mind and body, do hereby leave our entire estate, including the house at 1452 Oak Lane, all financial assets and personal belongings, to our son Derek Marshall, to be distributed upon our passing." I froze, certain I had misunderstood. Carefully, I removed the complete document from the envelope. The will was dated just 3 months earlier, properly signed and notarized. I read it fully, searching for any mention of my name. Near the end, I found it in a small paragraph. "Our son Fletcher Marshall has received his share of our estate through educational and business opportunities provided during our lifetime." Educational opportunities. I had paid my own way through college. Business opportunities. I had built my company through my own sweat and determination, without financial help from my parents. In fact, the reality was completely reversed, with me providing substantial financial support to them for years. My hands trembled as I returned the will to its envelope and placed it back exactly as I had found it. I completed the organizing task mechanically, my mind racing with questions and emotions. When my mother asked if I would stay for dinner, I claimed a business emergency and left quickly, afraid my face would betray the turmoil inside me. The 40-minute drive home passed in a blur as I replayed years of sacrifice and support. Every mortgage payment, medical bill, home repair, and monthly transfer flashed through my mind, alongside memories of my parents, constant praise for Derek, and minimal acknowledgement of my achievements. Once home, I called my friend Mark, a financial advisor who had helped me structure my business investments. Over a video call, I described the situation, careful to keep my voice level despite the anger and hurt churning inside me. "Let me get this straight," Mark said, his professional demeanor slipping into disbelief. "You have been supporting your parents financially for 5 years, and they have left everything to your brother, who contributes nothing." When he put it so bluntly, the full weight of the betrayal hit me. Mark asked me to estimate how much financial support I had provided over the years. As I calculated mortgage, help medical bills, car payments, home repairs, and monthly transfers, the total exceeded $150,000. Fletcher Mark said gently, "That is not just financial support. You have been their retirement plan, and it sounds like they have taken it completely for granted." That night, I barely slept, considering my options. I could confront my parents about finding the will, but that would likely lead to defensive justifications and emotional manipulation. I could continue as if nothing had changed, supporting them while knowing they valued Derek more. Or I could quietly withdraw my financial support and see what happened. By morning, I had made my decision. No dramatic confrontation, just a simple step back. I spent Sunday creating a detailed spreadsheet of all the ways I had been supporting my parents, with dates, amounts, and purposes. Then I emailed my accountant to stop the automatic monthly transfer to my parents' account. The first test came just 3 days later, when my mother called explaining that their water heater had broken and they needed $4,000 for a replacement. "I am not in a position to help right now," I said, the lie sticking in my throat. My business was more successful than ever, but I needed to see how they would respond. "Oh," my mother sounded surprised, but not yet alarmed. "Well, we can probably manage. Your father thought you would not mind, since you have been so generous in the past." "I am sorry," I said. "Things are tight with the new business expansion." Another lie, but I needed to set the boundary. The call ended with an awkward pause, and my mother's slightly cooler goodbye. I felt simultaneously guilty and relieved. For the first time in years, I had prioritized my own interests over my parents' needs, and while part of me felt like a terrible son, another part felt like I was finally standing up for myself. 3 weeks passed with minimal contact from my parents. I knew from our family group chat that Derek had visited them twice during this time, an unusual frequency for my typically absent brother. Then came the text that confirmed my suspicions about their true expectations. At 9:30 on a Tuesday morning, my phone chimed with a message from my mother. "The mortgage is due." No greeting, no pleasantries, no acknowledgement of our last conversation. Just the expectation that I would, as always, solve their financial problem. Taking a deep breath, I typed my response. "You should ask Derek. After all, he is getting the house." The aftermath was immediate and chaotic. Within 5 minutes of sending my text, my phone exploded with activity. 3 missed calls from my mother, 2 from my father. A flurry of messages demanding to know what I meant. I silenced my phone and focused on my workday meeting with clients and overseeing a major installation at a corporate headquarters. When I finally checked my messages that evening, I found a scathing voicemail from my father. "How dare you speak to your mother that way?" his voice thundered through the speaker. "After everything we have done for you, this is how you repay us. With disrespect and selfishness, call us immediately." My mother had taken a different approach, her voice tearful and wounded. "Fletcher, honey, I do not know what has gotten into you. We never meant to hurt you. Please call us back, so we can explain." I deleted both messages without responding. The next morning, I was reviewing contracts in my office when my secretary announced an unexpected visitor, Derek. My brother burst through the door without waiting for my acknowledgement. His face flushed with indignation. "What the hell did you do?" he demanded. "Mom has been crying for 24 hours straight, and Dad is talking about heart palpitations. They said you refused to help with the mortgage and made some crack about me getting the house. What is going on with you?" I studied my brother carefully. At 33, Derek still had the handsome features and athletic build that had made him popular in high school, though years of irregular employment and partying had added a slight puffiness to his face. He stood before me in designer jeans and a leather jacket I knew he could not afford on his part-time sporting goods store salary. Wordlessly, I opened my desk drawer and removed a copy of the will I had printed from memory. I slid it across the desk, along with my spreadsheet, detailing 5 years of financial support to our parents. "You might want to sit down," I said quietly. Derek's expression changed from anger to confusion as he read the documents. His face paled when he reached the paragraph, leaving everything to him, and his eyes widened as he scanned the list of my financial contributions. "I had no idea," he said, finally looking up at me, "about any of this. The will or the money. They never told me." For the first time in our adult lives, I saw genuine remorse in my brother's eyes. Whether he was being truthful about his ignorance, I could not tell, but his shock seemed sincere. "They need $1,600 for the mortgage," Derek said. "I do not have it. I can barely cover my own rent. That is not my problem anymore," I replied, taking back the documents. "For 5 years I have paid their bills while they praised your every minor accomplishment and took my success for granted. And now I discover they have left everything to you. So no, I will not be paying their mortgage." Derek left my office, subdued, his earlier bravado deflated. 2 days later, I received a group text from my father family dinner. Sunday at 6. Attendance mandatory. The atmosphere when I arrived at my parents' house that Sunday was tense enough to cut with a knife. My mother had prepared an elaborate meal, as she always did when trying to smooth over family conflicts. My father sat stoically at the head of the table, while Derek fidgeted with his napkin, avoiding eye contact with everyone. We ate in uncomfortable silence, until my father cleared his throat. "I think we need to address the elephant in the room," he announced. "Fletcher seems to have some grievances that have affected his willingness to help his family." I set down my fork carefully. "I discovered your will by accident, while organizing your office," I said directly. "I saw that you have left everything to Derek, with the explanation that I have already received my share, through educational and business opportunities. I would like to understand that reasoning, considering I paid my own way through college and built my business without your financial assistance. In fact, the situation has been quite the reverse." My mother's face crumpled. "We never meant for you to see that. It was private. That is your response. Not that the will is unfair or inaccurate, but that I was not supposed to see it." My father leaned forward. "Fletcher, you have to understand our thinking. You are successful. Your business thrives. Derek has struggled to find his footing. When we are gone, he will need the support of our estate far more than you will." I removed my spreadsheet from my pocket and unfolded it on the table. "If I am so successful and financially secure, why have I been paying your bills for 5 years? Why have I covered your mortgage when you fell behind, paid for home repairs, medical expenses, and sent monthly support?" My parents exchanged uncomfortable glances. My mother reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. "We are grateful for your help," she said softly. "You have always been our rock. Your rock who deserves nothing in your will," I countered. "It is not about deserving," my father interjected. "It is about need. Derek will need the house, and whatever modest savings we have, you will not." Derek, who had been silent until now, surprisingly spoke up. "That is not fair, Dad. Fletcher has been supporting both of you for years. If anything, he deserves more than I do, not less." I looked at my brother with newfound respect as he continued. "I had no idea he was paying your mortgage or sending monthly money. That changes things. I do not deserve to inherit everything." My parents appeared shocked by Derek's defection from their united front. My mother's eyes filled with tears, while my father's face hardened. "This is about money, then?" my father asked, his voice sharp. "You help your parents out of obligation, expecting repayment through inheritance. Is that the kind of son we raised?" The accusation stung, but I maintained my composure. "This is not about money. This is about recognition and respect. I have given both freely to you my entire life. I have supported you financially without complaint, because I believed we valued each other equally. Finding out that you plan to leave everything to Derek is not about the assets themselves, but what that decision represents about how you see me in this family." My mother began sobbing openly. My father stared at his plate. Derek looked uncomfortable, but resolute. "I do not want this to destroy our family," I said finally. "But I also cannot continue being the financial safety net, while being treated as less important than my brother." I stood up, placed my napkin beside my barely touched meal, and walked out, unsure if anything had been resolved or if the relationships could ever be repaired. The next 2 months passed with minimal contact between me and my parents. Weekly family dinners ceased. The group chat fell silent except for occasional logistical messages. I received several texts from my mother asking how I was doing, which I answered politely but briefly. My father did not reach out at all. For the first time in years, I focused entirely on myself. I took a 10-day vacation to Colorado, hiking and kayaking in solitude. I expanded my business into landscape architecture, hiring 2 designers to create custom outdoor living spaces. I even started dating again, meeting Allison, an environmental lawyer, who challenged and intrigued me in ways I had forgotten were possible. Without the constant drain of supporting my parents, I discovered I had more resources, both financial and emotional, than I had realized. The guilt I initially felt for withdrawing support gradually faded, replaced by a sense of righteous self-preservation. 6 weeks after the confrontational dinner, I received an unexpected email from Derek, asking to meet for coffee. Curious and cautious, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe downtown on a Tuesday morning. My brother looked different somehow, more serious and put together than I had seen him in years. He wore a simple button-down shirt rather than his usual graphic tee, and he arrived 5 minutes early rather than his customary 20 minutes late. "I wanted you to know that I asked Mom and Dad to change their will," he said, after we had exchanged brief greetings. "I told them it should be split 50-50 between us, or at least acknowledge all you have done for them." I was genuinely surprised. "What did they say?" Derek grimaced. "They agreed reluctantly. But Dad made some comment about you forcing their hand, and Mom cried about how family should not be transactional. They are changing it, but they are not happy about it." I nodded, realizing something important. It was never really about the will or the money, was it? It was about the recognition. "I think so," Derek agreed. "And for what it is worth, I am sorry for my part in all this. I had no idea how much you were supporting them, or how they minimized your contributions while celebrating my smallest achievements." Our conversation shifted to deeper topics about our upbringing and the different ways our parents had treated us. For the first time, Derek acknowledged the favoritism he had benefited from, and I admitted the resentment I had carried. We parted with a genuine hug, something we had not shared in years. That evening, I called a therapist a friend had recommended and scheduled my first appointment. Over the following weeks, Dr. Mercer helped me understand the family dynamics that had shaped our relationships and my own need for validation. I began to see how my financial support had been partly motivated by a lifelong quest for the approval my parents more readily gave to Derek. With this new understanding, I established clearer boundaries. When my parents eventually reached out about a major plumbing issue 3 months after our confrontation, I agreed to help, but with conditions I would pay half, with expectations clearly defined about repayment and acknowledgement of my contribution. It was a small step but significant in reshaping our relationship. Derek made his own changes, securing a full-time position at a sporting goods distributor and taking business classes at the community college. He began contributing to our parents' expenses in modest but consistent ways, and I noticed our parents' praise was more measured, less effusive than before. 6 months after discovering the will, we gathered for Thanksgiving dinner. The atmosphere was different from previous years, more balanced somehow. My father actually asked detailed questions about my business expansion, showing genuine interest rather than cursory acknowledgement. My mother mentioned being proud of a recent feature about my company in a local business magazine, something she would have previously overlooked. When I helped her with dishes after dinner, she broached the subject directly, for the first time since our confrontation. "We were wrong, Fletcher," she said quietly, hands deep in soapy water. "We took you for granted because you were always so capable. We expected everything from you, and very little from Derek, because that pattern was established so long ago." It hurt, I admitted. Not the money, but feeling like I mattered less. She dried her hands and turned to face me. "You have never mattered less. If anything, we have leaned on you because you matter so much, because you have always been our steady ground. But that was unfair, and I am sorry." It was not a perfect apology, but it was sincere, and I accepted it as a beginning. As we finished the dishes, my father entered the kitchen. He was not a demonstrative man, and emotional conversations made him visibly uncomfortable. But he placed a hand on my shoulder and gruffly said, That new design your company did for the city park. Impressive work. Really proud of what you have built. Simple words, but from him they meant everything. That night, driving home from my parents' house, I reflected on the journey of the past 6 months. The discovery of the will had been painful, but it had forced a necessary reckoning in our family. Old patterns had been disrupted, uncomfortable truths acknowledged, and new boundaries established. The relationships were not perfect, but they were more honest and balanced than before. I had learned that respect must be earned on both sides of any relationship, even between parents and children. I had discovered the freedom that comes from breaking unhealthy patterns, even when doing so feels like betrayal. Most importantly, I had come to understand that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for others is to stand up for yourself. My future looks different now. With my own needs properly prioritized, I am planning a business expansion that might have seemed selfish before. Allison and I are discussing moving in together next spring. I contribute to my parents' expenses occasionally, and on my terms with clear agreements and expectations. My relationship with Derek has evolved into something resembling actual brotherhood rather than rivalry. The journey continues with occasional setbacks and old habits that try to reassert themselves. But the fundamental dynamic has shifted, and for that I am grateful for the painful discovery that started it all. Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with family members who took you for granted? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories about standing up for yourself in challenging family situations. Consider sharing this video with someone who might need encouragement to establish their own healthy boundaries. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, sometimes loving yourself is the first step to creating healthier relationships with everyone else in your life.